Hello everybody in the chess world. I'm continuing my series on crazy unusual openings, and today we're going to see a Bronstein's Gambit, which basically starts when we play with white d4 and after knight on f6 this crazy g4 move. So, well, essentially the basic idea, of course, is that after knight takes on g4, accepting the gambit, we put another pawn in the center, and at the same time we gain a tempo over the knight. So at the same time, this gambit implied giving a side pawn, not a central pawn, so it's not so important. And of course, the G file now has been opened, so we're going to try to use that file in some of the lines. So, first of all, before showing you the main line, the main thing usually black plays to try and refute this gambit, and I'll recommend you some good ways of getting an advantage. Let us see quickly some alternatives. For example, black could reject the gambit in two ways. One is d5, against which we'll play g5, knight e4, f3, knight d6. Here we have two options. One is knight c3, logical. The idea is to continue with e4, and maybe for blitz we can even play this pseudo gambit, pawn takes knight c3. Now it looks more like a Blackmar's Gambit, but with that crazy knight on d6. This is all playable. After the Bronstein's Gambit, black could reject the gambit with h6. So, well, they decide not to take the pawn, but at least prevent g5. Here again, there are a lot of options. I kind of like this solid h3, follow it up with bishop on g2, but the main line is actually going for g5 anyway and develop the bishop here. Well, we open up the h file for black's rook, but this is playable. Now, of course, the main line is to accept the gambit. This is the testing line. Here, you gotta take the pawn. The engines will tell you that black is better, but we're seeing this trying to go for good things for white. So after e4, one detail is knight f6 immediately. One of the options is to play e5, knight d5, c4, and knight b6. And as you can see, this is an Alekhine Defense with a pawn down, which is the g pawn, but an extra tempo because black has not played d6 yet, and it's our turn. And again, remember, as usual, the g pawn might not be so important. It does empty the g2 square for our bishop, but maybe just trying to play along the g file, not so terrible. This is interesting. Of course, this is playable for black. d5, well, I've analyzed this in my a video in Spanish that I have on this channel, which is, I'll leave you the link on the description. Basically, bishop on e2 and knight takes on f2, not a forced line at all, but I mean, you can just go back to f6. Well, I've analyzed this line, e5, and there's knight on fd7 and knight on e4, and I also analyze this knight takes on f2. But again, I already analyzed all of this on that video. I'll leave you that. The main move that I also mentioned in that video, although I did not show it, is this d6. And normally afterward, we'll again continue with classical Bronstein's Gambit move. We develop the bishop, and at the same time we try to gain a tempo over the knight. And after knight on f6, hitting our e-pawn, knight on c3. And, well, I mean, here the main line is g6. And I think this is understandable. If one of the things that we got in exchange for having sacrificed that g-pawn is the g-file, well, the idea of closing it up with g6 and then follow it up with fianchetto in the bishop looks like a good idea. I mean, black is just saying, I'm going to play normal development, be a piece up. I'll show you some alternatives on the way there, because black could play also c6, black could play knight c6, black could play knight b on d7. Let's briefly look at those moves. The longest we'll see is c6. Here we can play f4 immediately. Queen a5, I think this has been played. This is a typical maneuver because, well, pinning our knight and intending knight takes on e4. And after bishop on d2, well, now it looks like, well, we broke the pin, and we hit that queen b6 because black is also saying, well, now the bishop is not protecting b2 anymore. But it's too risky to take that. We can just play knight on f3 and have a bishop on f4. We even have this e5 already going for the attack. A classical Bronstein's Gambit strategy, going for a really attack and putting pressure on our opponent from early on. And the thing is, you might think pawn takes, and knight d5, interesting, but we do have this knight on a4. This is interesting. So maybe look at this, queen d8, knight on g5, and, well, black probably doesn't want to exchange bishops, but if bishop on e6, we even have this e6 move. So, you know, if pawn takes knight c5, this looks like total domination. Going back, we said, well, shorter version lines, knight c6, we can advance this pawn and chase this knight. So if they go back, we'll just develop and have a normal game of chess. That this knight might have some problems. After knight b6, we play a4. We're intending a5. So if they have to stop it by a5, they're just, well, for the moment, giving up the square. We'll just play bishop on e3. Here a pawn down, but worked much better. And, well, last, let's say, again, an innocent move like c6 could be knight b7. Again, we could play f4. If they play c6, we're kind of transposing into their own line, but with the knight on d7 instead of queen on a5. And, I mean, we have some options here. For example, e5 attacking immediately. And this is classical. Knight goes to d5, but our knight goes to e4. And, I don't know, let us say e6, we can develop. If they take and play b5, we can always hit it with a4. Always unclear, but always there is pressure, you know, against black. And so let us go back to our main line. This g6, this is what I wanted to show you. So I'll recommend bishop on g5 here. I think this is a precise move, because after a bishop on g7, we will play queen on d2, hinting, you know, this classical possibility of exchanging bishops. And, well, c6 is the main move. h6, I mean, let us put it like this. After c6, I will recommend bishop on h6. So it will be cool to see what to play against h6, preventing that idea. I think we should just go to h4, and let us say after c6, just going right for long castles. So there is an attack again here. a5, they might start their attack, but we'll start with f4, and if knight on a6, we'll even a move like bishop on f3 is interesting. We could play knight on f3. There are a lot of options here. I don't know. This is interesting. Of course, it's playable for both sides, but going back, c6 is a main move, and bishop on h6, and after castles, h4. That's a classical idea. We're just doing this super known caveman attack. The idea is h5, and then taking the bishop, and after king takes, we'll take the g-pawn, allowing queen on h6 check with attack. So if b5, of course, we go h5, and oh, this is a nice detail. This is something that I had to see with the computer. I thought this was unplayable because of b4. And now, yeah, because up to here it was looking great, right? h4 with attack, b5 counter attack, but h5, we're threatening to take the bishop, then take the pawn, then play queen on h6. But b4 is we're losing this pawn. However, we have this intermediate bishop takes on g7, and black will have to just recapture that bishop with a king, because b takes e3 looks winning. They recover the minor piece. They're hitting both our queen and our bishop, but queen h6, I had not seen this move. Then when the computer recommended that, I was like, oh, there is queen on h6. What a weird move. And c takes b2, rook b1, queen a5 check. Again, it's like an alarm calling, but just king on f1, getting into the sharpness. And look, this is what I marked out with the arrows. The threat for us now is to play, bishop takes on f6, and then h takes on g6. And again, the strength of the file with rook and queen against this poor king on g8. So knight b7 will be the only move, so as to be able to recapture with the knight in case of bishop takes on f6. But now this move that reminds me, I think, nice victory from Karpov against Korchnoi. Of course, another nothing to do the other position. It was a dragon, a Sicilian dragon. But e5 is, again, a good move here. Again, we're forcing black to take it. The knight cannot go because we'll play h takes c6 and take on h7 or mate on h8, depending on what black plays. And after pawn takes, remember, you cannot take it with the knight, because then again bishop takes on f6, followed by h takes g6. So queen takes e5 is the only move, and now knight on f3 with big attack. I mean, this is really, really scary for black. I don't know the objective evaluation, but going back, so that is why after bishop takes on g7, exclam, black can and will recapture king takes on g7, and still they gain the e-pawn. But you can see we have a lot of attack. After knight takes on e4, we just have queen on f4. And well, now if we go back, just h takes g6 with the queen on h6 check, it's looking pretty complicated. I mean, you gotta take it with the f-pawn to free the f7 square for the king, but again, looking kind of weird. Maybe bishop on f5 is better. And because now if we take it, they recapture with the bishop. And after, if we give the check king g8, now it looks harmless because the h7 point is absolutely defended. So that's why we won't take it on h6. We'll just play knight on e3 trying to blow up that bishop. And there's not much more than, I guess, well, e6. We can take on g6, bishop takes. We do free like this defense for black of the point h7. Now it looks like we've worked in favor of black, but bishop on d3. Remember, you can always change the diagonal of that bishop. And look, here there are basically almost no good answers for black. The knight is pinned. The knight shouldn't go away because, well, of course, queen on h6 check. I'm not saying we're winning immediately, but there's a big attack here. It's quite dangerous, and I don't know, if you play queen g5, which looks clever, queen on h2, we just go away, keep, and let's say recover the strength on the h file, and we'll just want to develop a knight on f3 with a tempo. It's always looking kind of ugly for black, and well, d5, well, again, we will look, this actually loses. This is funny. d5 is actually unplayable. Check, and after king g8, f3. Again, I mean, the h7 point is falling because after the knight retreats, we'll just take it on h6, on g6. I'm sorry. You can, well, if you take with the h pawn, we'll give queen h8 mate. You'll have to play f takes g6, allowing queen takes h7. I mean, this is totally over. So, okay. Well, remember, if you are wondering about the other line, there are more lines. I could do a second video. It's a really long theoretical stuff in here. But remember, if you're wondering about the d5 point, d5 move line, I just left you the link on the description to see it out. It's the one that it's in Spanish, but you'll understand it even if you don't speak Spanish. It's quite clear, and I'm basically showing the moves and pointing everything out with arrows as usual. So again, I'll leave Citroneta to ask you to like, comment, share, and subscribe the video. And thanks a lot for watching. I will see you next time.